Welcome to the Teach Better Talk podcast, your official podcast for the Teach Better Podcast Network, the hub for all things education, brought to you by teachbetter.com. The Teach Better Talk podcast is committed to answering your burning questions through a variety of lenses and bringing new offers to you and your colleagues to help you thrive throughout the school year. My name is Ray Hewart, and we love your questions here on the pod. If you have any questions that you'd love us to consider as topics for future episodes, please share them with us by emailing info@teachbetter.com.
Let's get into our theme this week. How are we building relationships? What are those body language, nonverbal cues? Better yet, what are the verbal cues as well, as we are headed into August, kicking off the Teach Better Talk show and also building relationships with new colleagues, new students. This is a good theme of the week. Special shout out to Katie Miglin over on the Teach Better team, always focused on building relationships. I feel like her big smile helps people feel like they're automatically connected to her. So again, going into those body language presentation skills that allow us to foster those strong relationships. If you are looking for someone high energy to connect with, someone who is seemingly building relationships all over the world in the education space, that is our guest right here. Phil, I'm so stoked that you are on the show. Welcome to Teach Better Talk, friend.
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, feeling the energy. It's like you took Katie's smile in a bottle and then passed it through the screen to me. So blessed. Hashtag blessed, Ray.
Hashtag blessed. It's so true. You know, I love that we're doing a little team shout out every so often. It's always important for our community to understand that like this doesn't happen just by one person making this all happen. Like the whole team makes us look good. But Katie Miglin's one of them. I mean, we put her on camera as much as possible because people feel like naturally connected with her, even though it's through a screen. You do a very similar thing when I watch your stuff on Instagram. I mean, like it's constantly like, dude, Phil's so cool. I trust him automatically. Like we're gonna have to get into that this episode because I don't understand how it happens. But teachers are literally walking into the classroom this week trying to do it with their kiddos.
Well, thank you. Compliment fully received and accepted. Thank you. And yeah, I'm sure Katie would feel the same way. She probably genuinely likes humans, and that shows, right? Which is something we can go into. The authentic love of humanity is usually helpful when connecting with people.
Well, that's good because teachers typically, whether they're in the classroom or they're in a leadership role, more often than not got into this because they love the space and they have an authentic reason to be there. So we're going to get into that. Phil, before we get too far in though, can you share a little bit about who you are? I know so many people in our community will already be eager to connect with you because they're following you already. But what about some newbies here? Who are you?
Thank you so much. Yeah, my name is Phil Januszewski. I like to say that I'm a speaker, teacher, and creator. So since 2005, I've been a public high school educator. I teach chemistry, physics, and English language learner physical science. This was just finishing up when the summer hit around my 19th school year. So August, when this comes out, I'm hitting up my 20th school year. So the big 2-0 coming in hot. Besides that, I am lucky to have quite a few side things that I truly enjoy doing. One of them is that I absolutely love pouring into givers, humans like people listening right now, Ray. So I absolutely love to give keynotes and workshops that motivate givers to show up to life a little less tired and way more inspired, as we know that life can be a little challenging in the field of education. So the more that we can do that's in our control to be able to show up better as our happier, healthier, better selves, the more impact we can make. And let's be honest, Ray, as you said, the reason we got into this arena of education is because we tend to like humans and want to help them. So absolutely love doing that. And besides that, I love to say, Ray, that I'm a marketing nightmare because I have so many different things going on. But I've also been a youth speaker since 2013 with my best bud, Matt. We have a company called M&P Presentations where we love to pour into youth, specifically junior high, high school, and early college, help them cultivate confidence and promote a positive mindset so they're willing to see more open doors in front of them, jump on opportunities, and also just learn to grow in the person that they actually are, not what other people maybe think they should be. So man, it's been a journey. I've been professionally speaking for over 11 years now. It's great. And I just love meeting positive humans like those through this group. And Ray, you are no exception to that. When I originally accidentally ran into you online, I'm like, these are my kind of people. And luckily you were kind enough to meet with me, tell me what everyone was about. And I'm like, oh, this is like, I just like found a whole new family. So it's a pleasure to be here with you in this moment.
Oh my God, we're so thrilled that you're a part of the Teach Better community. And even more so, hopefully our community continues to connect with you even further as we get into this episode. Friends, obviously, you got to bring Phil in for, a keynote to kick off the school year. If you haven't organized an institute event that you have, I don't know, and like November 1st seems to be a common one this year. We get a lot of bookings for that. Bring in Phil to do some workshop with your staff, but sounds like you should also be bringing him in to work with your students. It's always fun to bring a speaker in to be a part of an assembly piece or anything like that. Stick around for this episode. We will be giving an enormous discount, which sounds crazy. Phil has a really cool offer for members of our Teach Better family listening to the pod this morning or this afternoon, depending on when you're listening, dealing with his Positive Growth Lounge membership. So we will be getting into more of that as we go. So stick with us. Phil, as you think through what teachers really need at the beginning of the school year, I wonder if you're somebody that can really help educators that are already, like at the new year, we're already walking in with a positive mindset, and then it seems to like diminish as our energy diminishes. Yeah. I feel like they need to start the year with you so that way they don't like go dive bomb with the negativity that happens as the year continues.
I hear you. Yeah, we do start off with a pretty strong bank in August or September when we come back. And then it's like a rock that someone's slowly chipping away at. And I'm really glad you actually brought that up. I know this wasn't like predetermined to talk about this, but that's actually one of the things I absolutely love pouring into educators about. I'd love to think and help them reflect on what actually in our daily lives are the things that we love to do. I like to call them our ERs. So are you a teacher, a helper, a creator, a father, a mother, a lifter, an exerciser? We all have our own different ERs. But anyways, regardless of that.
I have a question. Does coffee drinker count?
There's some people leave off the word coffee, Ray.
Oh, that's later. I got to finish this first.
So there's no judgment. This is a safe space as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm in my basement. What could be safer than that? But besides that, when we start really knowing like the things that fill us up, okay, you can call whatever you want. I just like to call them ERs. The best part is that when you can start actually scheduling that into your everyday life, that's when it really starts to make the impact. And a lot of educators in the summer, they've got the time, they reset their boundaries, they've taken a breath of fresh air. That's beautiful. But what can we do when the school year starts so that we actually don't run ourselves so low that we show up cynical, angry, impatient, just exhausted, zoned out? And I really do believe, and it's worked for me for years, and it's worked for so many, it's when you actually have a schedule that you build in, that you hit on all those little things every day. They may have nothing to do with your job as an educator or your passion or calling as an educator, but build in the little good things so that every couple of hours, a few minutes here, an hour there, you're building up that positive bank so that even when you're doing parts of our job that drain us, and let's be honest, no matter what job we have, we all have things we need to do that are going to drain us. Not everything, but some things. When you build in the little good things here and there, you're going to consistently build up that positive bank so that by the end of the day, you aren't as exhausted. You actually can look back and think, you know what? I did quite a few things that I really enjoyed. Maybe I listened to some great music. Maybe I learned and read. Maybe I networked with someone great like Ray and I fed off that energy. Maybe I went to the gym and exercised after work or before work. Maybe I cooked a great meal and saved some money. Whatever it is, when you have those built into your day, you're less likely to just go through the motions, go back to your old habits from last school year that may have led you to the same exact feeling. So try that little perspective shift. Say, I'm going to be a little bit more structured. I'm going to make a little bit more time for the little things that matter to me. And you'd be surprised at the impact it can make on pushing us through sometimes the mundane things, the things that drain us, the tough things that sometimes make us cringe a little bit because it's a little bit political on how we have to do our jobs. All those things can drain us. So we have a better shot and a better chance at staying more inspired and not leaning so tired when we do things like that.
I think it's a great PSA right now. I know we're getting into trust building, verbal and nonverbal, language that we can work with our community. And we have a lot of questions you guys have submitted for this, but I have to say, Phil, I feel like this is the perfect PSA for, hey, before we get into how you're going to build relationships with the really important people that are going to be brand new in your life, possibly even this week, how are you going to keep yourself sane, and how can we keep you happy and healthy throughout the year? Do not reach for this type of support when you're already hitting rock bottom, because it's really hard to get back up, and we're always going to be there to help you do that. But keep yourself, ahead of the game by thinking through these types of habits now, because we all know teacher tired in August is like no other thing that you can describe. So how can we keep you feeling good?
I love that you said that. And I agree. I think what we're looking at is upstream. It's really hard for humans to appreciate an upstream fix, because when we're reactive, you see the fix and you're like, oh, I got rid of that. But when you start something upstream, you don't even notice all the things that are going better. But that would be a beautiful thing, that maybe when you reflect back in October, the weather's changing, the honeymoon phase may have worn off for school for your students, and now your dad jokes aren't funny anymore, right? All those little things that, I love a good dad joke, but I love cheesy humor. But I'm just saying that if we take that upstream approach, you might be surprised at maybe how long you last before you feel super drained before winter break. Or you may even feel like, wow, this year just seems a little bit different. What is it? So agreed. And then from that, Ray, I wanted to get right into what you were bringing up. How do we create a presence and make connections with our students in the beginning of that school year? And again, not to lean too much on what I just said, but if we can't show up energized and feeling good, let's be honest, how much effort are we really going to put forward? And what kind of energy are we going to be giving to students if we aren't feeling that great? So we're all in different places. I love to do with my audiences, if you were an ice cream flavor right now, what would you be? Would you be Rocky Road, vanilla, Neapolitan, little hazed and confused, and old school Ben and Jerry's, right? No judgment here. I'm in Illinois. But what I'm saying is, once you know where you're at, your really high energy might be different than my high energy, and that's okay. But when you're bringing your natural high energy, humans pick up on it. And not to overuse the word, Ray, to be authentic yourself, but I do think it's a good word. If you're giving your genuine self to your kids, they pick up on it. And let's be honest, we can't be super genuine if we're drained, really exhausted. So the more we can show up for that, I think the more natural the connection is going to happen. And for my extroverts like me, maybe you are getting loud and proud. And then for my introverts, maybe it is your sweet or soft or endearing tone and little dry, quiet humor. But that's going to make connections, because that's who you are. So my wish is that I just want you to show up as yourself, but as your happy, healthy self, the way you feel your best.
Oh, I love that. Happy, healthy self. Your smile will come across even brighter when we have your happy, healthy self. Stick with us. We're getting into your questions, getting into some tips and tricks for building those trusting relationships. Don't go anywhere.
Quick pause to talk about the Teach Better team's 360 approach to professional development. Now, we know that the Teach Better team was originally founded on mastery learning practices, but we know there is so much more that takes to building a successful school. Head over to teachbetter.com/professional development to look at the Teach Better team's 360 rollout plan, your complete path to lasting educational transformation. It includes personalized student success plans, progressive instruction, aligned content implementation, a supportive environment, true long-term change, and more than anything, time for teachers. Head over to teachbetter.com/professional development to see the whole system in action.
How do we build trusting relationships? You're walking into a month all about meeting new faces, not only in the parents that we serve, the students we serve. If you're in a leadership role, if you're in a staff or educator role, it is constant. We are meeting the newbies in every frame of life. So let's talk about the verbal and nonverbal cues that we can give to those around us, that we are warm, we are open, we are welcoming, we are professional, and we are somebody that this community can invest in. Phil, you are somebody that does this so well. So I'm so glad we're able to feature you this week on the pod. You are constantly oozing energy to the point that we can feel it when we watch you on video before you even enter into our schools for that amazing workshop. So tell me a little bit about any reflection that you've done to say, hey, I've just noticed that when I do this, people respond really well to it. So now internally, I make a choice to try and bring that out for them.
Thank you for this opportunity. I think there's so many little like tips and tricks, and I think that everyone has their own little brand of how they do this. So, Ray, I think it's probably obvious, right? I'm definitely unapologetically a loud extrovert. So some of my unique ways of connecting with people might be miserable for some people, but take what you will, make it your own. One of the things that I found that has nothing to do with in my classroom, but in the building, is that whenever I'm in a school of 3,000 students, so it's a big place, it's a little city, or maybe a big city compared to some people now that I think about it. But anyways, I got a lot of bodies. Now, when I walk through the halls, I really try, even as much as it's tempting to get an email off of that, I try not to be on my phone, and I try to have my head up. And when I'm walking through, I'm trying to make eye contact and just simply smile. I know that if you've ever read, I think Sean Acor brought it up in some of his books, hospitals tried to do the 10-foot rule. Like if you walk by anyone and you're less than 10 feet from them, you should at least make eye contact and smile a little bit. And it makes a huge difference. So I try to do that constantly. And it was awkward at first, but now I'm used to just walking through the halls with the smile, like nodding my head, waving, saying hello. And it really does make a difference, because kids who end up in my class that have never even known me or met me already have this perception that at least I'm welcoming, or at least happy to be in the building with them, which I think gives me a leg up. It gives me an extra moment to allow them to get to know me, and they're actually going to give me a chance. So before I even meet them, just my body language, posture in the hall is energetic, excited, and focused on the other people, I think can really send a message without speaking that I'm here for the right reasons, and I'm here for you. I'm excited that you're here too. Even the students who are exhausted in the morning, I still think they notice it, even though they don't respond to it.
Well, and I think those are the types of tips and tricks we really need to focus on during our pod this morning, just because we have to start looking at what are the easy things we can do? What are the norms we can put in place so that this doesn't have to be another thing, right? If we just commit, when I'm walking down the hall, I'm going to have that 10-foot rule. I'm going to do a little head nod. I'm going to smile. I can raise my eyebrows just to acknowledge and bring that positivity. That's something that then once you've done it twice, you'll just stick with it the rest of the year. You don't have to focus too hard on adding it to your plate as you're running to the copier.
Yes, I agree. I think it also opens up conversations sometimes with students that I would have never met, because they feel safer with me. They'll ask me a question like, hey, do you know where the dean's office is? Like I have to ask a question where they would walk past maybe other adults because they haven't made that eye contact or just given off this physical and emotional energy that I'm at least approachable to talk to. So I think that's super important. And I always try to do that at the grocery store. Honestly, I just think the world needs more of it. And I think we're all very distracted. And don't get me wrong, I love occasionally put my earbuds in and go grocery shop at Aldi and listen to some metal and just get down on my breakdowns. But I also feel like it's important for me to have those micro connections for my own well-being and happiness. So just keeping that in mind and being aware of it might be a deal maker or a deal breaker for you. Another thing, if I can share something in my classroom that I love that I do. Now, remember, one of my Ers is music, so I'm a music listener, is I always have, and again, I'm a high school teacher, so every 48 minutes a bell rings and like those humans go and new come in. But I love to always have music playing when my students enter my room. I've created a playlist over the years that has pretty clean music, but that's different genres. And what I love to do is kind of show them all the different music that I like. I'm not blasting it. It's not overwhelming, but it is there and it's setting an energy. And what I like to do is when I hear kids casually mention the type of music they like or into, I try to find music by that artist they like, but that I also like and put it on. And occasionally it shows up and they're like, whoa, you listen to, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, but I do listen to this one because of you. And just like giving them that connection that I value music. And even though I might not like all of yours, I still think music is important and beautiful. So it's not only setting an energy, but it opens up a simple little connection between one-on-one, a small group of students and me. And in my school, we have my classes, especially my English language learner classes, are way more diverse. So I've been slowly upping my game in music that's in Arabic. I've been upping my game in music that is like Latin music. So, and they have a lot of amazing music that let's just be honest, Ray, this is like Chicago suburb white boy Phil. Like I'm not a cultured human. So meeting them and learning about the beautiful music they have and that they love, and you hear it in the class, it's a good way to connect. And again, that's natural for me being a former wedding DJ and being someone obsessed with music. But again, what is your little quirky thing you love? And is there a way to just have it part of your class without anything in a lesson plan or that?
Yeah, music also is going to really impact the body language of anybody entering into your space, whether you're an educational leader and you're putting on a staff meeting and you have new staff members walking in, or you're having a parent night and parents are walking through different classrooms. Right. It really does kind of ease the tension that there may or may not be, the nerves that there are going to be, the awkwardness in the air that many feel. I mean, as much as we want to talk about specific phrases you could use to build trust or putting on a smile in terms of body language, music is a great way to ease some of the atmosphere, set a tone, and then you can continue to use it throughout the many weeks. I know it feels like August is like a month that never ends, but definitely one that definitely will get people in the right headspace to be present in that room.
Yeah, I think it goes with, right, you can say anything you want, but it's really how you say it that people pick up on. And when you're doing things that you genuinely already enjoy, I think they pick up on it. And something I want to mention too that was harder for me earlier in my career that now I've just accepted is that when I greet a student and I'm excited to see them and I have high energy and I've got music, sometimes they may barely say hello or just kind of push it off. It may be a bit much for them. So what I've learned is that I can't take offense in any way to the reaction that I didn't get, that I want. I want high fives when they're coming in, but let's be honest, chemistry and physics isn't going to make everybody thrilled to be there every day. And I get that. So what I tell them at the beginning of the school year is that I don't expect all of you to absolutely love this class and all want to be chemists and physicists. However, my most important goal is that you never dread walking into this classroom. I want you to always feel comfortable as yourself. And I want you to know that I'm happy that you are here, even if you hate Newton's laws and have no interest in it. I know that we still can have a good time together and make it through the tough stuff because you aren't exceptionally excited about it as much as I am. And I said, and that's okay, but don't ever come in here dreading it. And I tell them first day, if you ever do dread it, I want you to be confident enough to come talk to me on the side so that we can figure out how to change that, because we are here 180 days together. And I do not want you to dread that many hours of your life. And by just putting it out there, and it's genuine coming from me, it's not scripted, I think a lot of them are like, okay, deal,
There are so many things that educators will put up on their wall or on their doors, and so many different quotes that your students may or may not read within their first weeks of sitting in the classroom. That to me is the only important phrase that I would want in my classroom. I was not necessarily a poster vibe teacher. I was more of like, have an important element that I want them to focus on and then just kind of create an environment that's comfortable. But if you are a poster fiend, if you're an educator that's got posters everywhere, this is one that we need a poster of, Phil. That's going to be a great reminder for any student or human walking into your space. And I like that it's something you can say, and it's also something that you can live by, and it's an element that you can have up somewhere for somebody to glance at and remind themselves of, because it will be true always. That's really powerful.
I love that. Well, thank you. And I do think that a lot of students that I didn't feel I connected with, that especially in the past, felt like I really annoyed them with how happy I was to see them. You'd be surprised years later when you hear back from some of those students that will say, I don't even know if you would remember me because I barely spoke to you, but I just wanted you to know your consistent positive energy, even though I looked annoyed, meant I needed it so much more than I realized. And again, I think that comes with experience, having the confidence in myself to say, I'm going to do it regardless of if they're giving it back, because I know so many of them need it. And again, at 22, 23 years old, it was harder to swallow than now at me being 41 years old. So totally get that comes with time. But I just want to remind anybody who's listening that might think like, yeah, I'm getting nothing back. You won't a lot of times. And that's just the age group, at least for high school. That's just part of their development and becoming themselves and being uncomfortable. It's not personal, even though, darn, it feels really personal sometimes.
Absolutely does. Guys, don't forget that we have an amazing promotion that we want to share with you, not only so that you can get something to sustain your mindset, but also so you can give to others because you feel so good. Before we transition into some 3 major takeaways of today's episode, I want to note that Phil and his crew is being incredibly generous. They have a Positive Growth Lounge membership. It's usually $25 a month, which, by the way, super affordable. I love that price point for educators because we do not have a lot of money to spend. Thank goodness this is inexpensive. But I will tell you, for some reason, Phil is the coolest guy ever, and he's giving you 1 free month just by being a part of the Teach Better family. So before you fully commit to the Positive Growth Lounge membership, you can go and check it out, which I love. So head over to all the places that Phil is going to share with us to connect. You can join that lounge space for a month free, and then continue to be a part of it by seeing the amazing people that are there. Just use the code TEACHBETTER, mention the pod, mention that you are connected and listen to the episode, and hey, it sounds like a free month is on your future. So I love it. Stick with us as we get into our 3 major takeaways. Phil, I cannot wait to continue this conversation. Hey friends, thanks for sticking with us. We are getting into some major takeaways. This entire week, we are talking about ways to build trust, not only with our physical body language, but also with verbal connections and different things we can create in our environment. Phil has done so many things for us in this episode, one of which is giving us that incredible opportunity to experience his Positive Growth Membership Lounge for free, just using the code TEACHBETTER. So make sure to use that. We'll give you all of Phil's contact information here in just a second. But Phil, we want to start with these takeaways. If our community here is listening, let's pretend they were multitasking. Maybe they're driving to work, or they're in the midst of a number of different organizational tasks, and they were half listening, half multitasking. What are the 3 takeaways you want to make sure they really hold on to as this episode wraps up?
Absolutely. Listen up, turn the radio up, and put the coffee down in the car. Here we go. Number 1 is you got to look upstream and take care of yourself. By that, I mean, make sure you know what makes you happy and purposely build it into your schedule and day every day, not just in the summer, Monday through Friday during the school year. Make sure you hit on your the things that light you up. Number 2, the little things that you do that are natural and organic to you that can send a welcoming or calming or positive energy is going to be picked up by your students. Whatever energy you're giving off, they're going to pick up on. Try to do things that are naturally and quirky, that are you, that you can give to your students, your coworkers, etc. No one wants you out of your comfort zone, but people want you to give that energy so that they know this is someone I can trust. This is someone I can learn from and be near. And then the last thing I think is, don't take it personally, even though it's hard not to. When you are giving that energy to create that environment that you want, you're often not going to get it reciprocated, at least in the older age levels. And through my life's experiences and seeing this 20 years teaching now, it's just something that a lot of students aren't comfortable giving back, but that doesn't mean they don't notice it or appreciate it and that it doesn't matter. Keep up the good fight. Take care of yourself so that you can show up empathetic, energized, enthused, and most importantly, resilient, because it is a job that is going to constantly and consistently throw things at you. When we show up our best self, we can take on all those challenges without running dry.
So many takeaways. Friends, I want to make sure you use code TEACHBETTER to get all of Phil's offerings for this community. Phil, how can our community stay connected to you?
Hey, well, thanks so much. I have an odd last name, so if you just Google search Phil Januszewski, or all my handles on all social media are at Phil Januszewski, and then check out the positivegrowthlounge.com. Like Ray said, anybody who's interested, come on. We meet twice a month on Wednesday nights virtually. It's a team of teachers from across the nation, and we just pour into our own personal SEL. No curriculum talk. It's all about how can we better our lives through positive psychology. Try it out for a month. That's 2 meetups just to see if we're your people. And if you are, you can become a member. And if not, I think you'll still have had a good time. So regardless, I'm excited to meet some of the Teach Better fam.
So good. Friends, if you made it this far, don't forget to head over wherever you're listening and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. We appreciate you making it to the end of the episode. If you're listening over on Teach Better Talk, we would love to see those follows. And if you're over on YouTube watching the episode, make sure you also subscribe to the Teach Better Team YouTube channel so you don't miss any episodes. We are putting out 3 episodes a week diving into questions, so don't be a stranger. Phil, thanks so much for popping on. I appreciate it.
Ray, always a pleasure. Grateful for all you and your crew do. Thank you for having me.